All right, let's move on to question number 2. How can I help my child with selective mutism communicate nonverbally in an emergency during swimming lessons when traditional strategies like cards aren't an option? She loves swimming and participates well, but I want to ensure she does have a way to ask for help if she needs it.
So I'm assuming this child is old enough to understand this process. Again, I think we need to know the ages of some of these children because it would help me gear the answer. So I'm going to assume this is a relatively young child, but maybe an early elementary age child. And even if it's a little older, it really doesn't matter because what we need to do is talk to the child about it. Most of my clients, most of my listeners, they understand that I'm all about talking to children. I'm all about being open to mystification, being able to talk about the pink elephant in the room. In this case, having difficulty communicating. We relate to it in, how they feel about it. And we're going to get to that in another question. But in this case, I would talk to the child about it. We don't want to scare the child, but we want to talk about it if you're not feeling safe, if you're nervous, if something's not right or you have an emergency. I mean, they're going to have an instructor there, which I'll get to in a second, but we want to talk to the child about 1, 2, 3 steps that they can take to make their needs known and practice that. But the most important thing to do with a child that isn't communicating effectively and struggles with communication is to make sure that the adult, who's the implementer, the facilitator in the environment, is aware. So if that child is in swim class, I'm assuming that we have educated the swim teacher through the About My Child worksheet, which you can add as a kind of addendum to this in the show notes. But it's called About My Child. It's a way to educate coaches, teachers, family members. It's about your child, what helps them, what to do, not to do. And we just give a sample. I developed it millions of years ago, so to speak, and it's been very helpful to parents. You can use it with pictures. You don't need pictures. You can do it completely different than the sheet we give you, but it's just an example. It's called About My Child. Some of my older kids have an About Me, but the About My Child is wonderful because it's a way for parents to educate, because we need a teacher to know what to do and not to do and to understand, right? Because you certainly don't want them forcing speech to an anxious child that's working on this. But with a swim teacher specifically, they need to be able to know that your child may not speak if they're learning to swim. And what if they swallow water or they go under too deep or they can't say help? So absolutely have to educate the instructor. But the child needs to have ways, whether it's putting their hand in. And what I would do is practice that. I would say, hey, chances of an emergency are really slim. But if there's something you need, because you don't want to scare the child, but we need to, note that it's like a fire drill at school, right? You're probably not going to have a fire in school, but you need to know what to do if there is a fire. So it's the same thing. We need to have an emergency drill, so to speak, or a safe drill, or however you want to call it. And they would practice it, probably hand up or something, or even clap, not in the pool. They need but clap or hand up or something, or kick, something that they can do to indicate a need.
Yeah, I'm wondering how this question came about, because if you think about it in a swim class, if someone needs help, there's universal signals that any swim teacher would pick up on if someone's having trouble swimming that are nonverbal, right? So I'm wondering what asking for help is. Is it in this context? Is it she's tired and she wants a break? Is it she wants a sip of water? I feel if you really need help, it's not about speech, right? It's pretty obvious if someone needs help with swimming. They're kicking.
Yeah, my guess is it's not as extreme as what you're thinking of when you're splashing the water, God forbid
Right.
can't stand and you can't swim, and so to speak. But I think this is more or less probably could have been in any class this child was taking, but the fact that it's swimming makes you more concerned because you can drown. So this could be an art class the child's separated from mom. This could be in soccer. This could be in anything the child is doing in class. What is the emergency protocol if you need help? And
similar to almost asking to go to the bathroom. It's a similar.
Yeah,
similar
you need
question.
to have a step process, 1, 2, 3, how to make your needs known, whether it's going over and having a communication board, whether it's hand up or a wave or a twist, something to let them know. If they're going with a buddy, it's really nice to go with a buddy to these things. I often recommend, because comfort and connection precedes communication. So my recommendation is always to join with a buddy, someone the child feels comfortable with, because chances are if they're going to start to communicate verbally, it's going to be with someone they already know and have connected with. If you
Yeah.
can't join with someone you know, then I always tell parents, especially if it's a very small group like a swimming class or an art class, try to foster connections, the buddy process, even in these classes, because comfort and connection precedes communication. So I think it's important that if we're joining, we try to get someone the child feels safe and comfortable with. That also could be an intermediary to also
Right.
ask for help.